Live from Sin City, it's the Socks and Pinstripes podcast. And now, here's the star of the show, Giant Dr. Griffin!
Baltimore Orioles. This is Diet Dr. Griffin back with the Socks and Pinstripes podcast. I don't know what episode we're on, but we're keeping on. Earlier this week, the Baltimore Orioles were purchased for $1.72 billion by David Rubenstein. The Angelos family had owned the Orioles since 1993. The principal, Peter Angelos, is currently dealing with dementia, and his family is running the team. And from what I've heard, they're constantly bickering and fighting. So it's like a real-life version of Succession. After many, many years of floundering, the Baltimore Orioles stormed back last year, winning the AL East in 101 games before getting bounced by the world champion Texas Rangers in the playoffs. So they decided to make a big move this week, and they picked up Corbin Burns from the Milwaukee Brewers, the former Cy Young Award-winning pitcher who is a year away from free agency. The Brewers have been basically in the middle of a fire sale for the past few months as they've been jettisoning players because they are basically in the middle of a rebuild. Their window has closed to win a championship, so now they're just starting over like most small market teams typically do. One of the things that the Orioles were lacking was a dominant front of the rotation pitcher, and Burns gives them that ace at the top that they were lacking. A lot of people are believing that the new ownership is what spurred this move, but it's really just a coincidence in timing. There's no way that the new owners have the ability to just go right in there and start making player personnel decisions. It's too early in the process. The Orioles have a clear championship window that is opening after last season's performance, and this is the typical type of move where they're going after pitchers or hitters that they need to win now. And I like this move a lot. One aspect of this ownership change that is interesting was actually the sales price. Now, on paper, a $1.72 billion sales price is impressive, but it's not really that impressive in the big scheme of things. When you look at what the Phoenix Suns got sold for a couple of years back, which was around $4 billion, for a longtime MLB team to not even get $2 billion is kind of alarming. It just goes to show the differences in the sports and how far back baseball has actually fallen. Furthermore, there have been two other teams that have basically been on the selling block. The Nationals have been on sale for the better part of 2 years, even before they traded Juan Soto to the Padres. Our boy Artie Moreno put the Los Angeles Anaheim Angels of Anaheim, Los Angeles on sale before this past season, and he claimed that he got an asking price of $2 billion, but I firmly believe that was a bunch of BS because if he actually got that, he probably would have sold the team. And my guess is that he didn't get that, and he made it seem like he had unfinished business this year. So now he's basically stuck with the team. And with no Shohei Ohtani to buoy him, and the crazy situation with the RSN still ongoing, he's probably going to be stuck with that team for a long time at a much lower value. That stadium is also a really rotten stadium. I was there to see Ohtani pitch a couple years ago, and that place is dump. Speaking of owners, the Boston Red Sox ownership, along with the Mets ownership and some other owners, have invested a $3 billion stake into the PGA. They're starting another company to try to make things work a little better with the whole live situation, which is a whole can of worms I don't really want to get into. But now we know where the Red Sox full throttle money situation has gone to. As a result of all of this, I have made the difficult decision to boycott the Boston Red Sox until further notice. I just can't support the ownership group when they are flat out lying to the fans of the team. You can't say that you're going full throttle and then just sign Lucas Giolito to a 1-year deal with a player option. That's not going to cut it. Kenny Bowtie is on the record of saying that the Red Sox flat out are not trying, and now we're seeing Red Sox tickets being sold at Costco, which to the fan base is an outright embarrassment. Now, I know that may sound egotistical since the Red Sox have won 4 championships this century, but there is a difference between trying to compete and not trying at all. And they have gone into the not trying camp. I have no problem if the team is bad and they're actively trying. I mean, at least Artie Moreno actually spends money. He manages to sign all the wrong players, but at least he's trying. The Red Sox ownership flat out is not trying, and it's very clear now why so many prominent general manager candidates refuse to interview for the GM job that Craig Breslow took over, because they realized that the Red Sox weren't going to actually spend any money to be serious players. They're not the Red Sox that they were 20 years ago. They're just this small market team trying to milk all the money out of the Boston fan base, and they're not having it, as they shouldn't. I'm just going to spend the foreseeable future as a baseball fan. I'm going to get MLB TV, and I'm just going to watch other teams play, because there are 29 other teams in baseball that play, minus the 6 that I'm blacked out of on the West Coast, but that's another story for another day. Let's shift to some more pleasant topics and go over some of the free agent moves that have happened since the last recording of the podcast. Hector Neris signed a 1-year, $9 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. I like this move. Neris was pretty effective as a bullpen arm with the Houston Astros and has some closing experience. No complaints there. Adam Frazier signed a 1-year, $4.5 million contract with the Kansas City Royals. That's fine. No complaints there either. They need a bat, and Frazier is a decent one. Adam Ottavino re-upped with the Mets for $4.5 million over 1 year. Alex Wood signed an $8.5 million contract with the Oakland A's. I didn't realize they had $8.5 million to spend, but here we are. Now, this is an interesting one because the Detroit Tigers signed second baseman Colt Keith to a 6-year, $28.6 million contract extension, and there's some club options on there. The reason you may not have heard of Keith is because he's a minor leaguer. He has not made his major league debut yet, and the Tigers are getting into the signing a guy before he makes his major league debut game. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. The Mariners acquired second baseman Jorge Polanco from the Minnesota Twins for Tony DeSclafani and a couple of other pitching and hitting prospects, along with $8 million in cash going the other way. That's interesting to see. Polanco is a solid second baseman, and DeSclafani is a Tony Disco, of course, is a innings eater. Could prove to be another effective trade for both the ball clubs. One of our favorites, Aaron Hicks, signed a 1-year deal at the league minimum to play for the Angels. Of course, the New York Yankees are still paying his contract through the 2025 season. So hopefully Mr. Hicks has a good year and doesn't get spider tack stuck to his forehead again. Justin Turner signed a 1-year, $13 million contract to play for the Toronto Blue Jays. He'll probably be their primary DH, but they may play him around the field at third and first base to possibly give guys a day off. I like this move. Justin Turner had a very, very good year last year in Boston, and he still can hit and still can run and do his thing, and he should be very effective for that Toronto ball club that wants to make a deep push into the playoffs this year. Wandy Peralta signed a 4-year, $16.5 million contract with the San Diego Padres. It's a very Padres-esque contract because it's really a 1-year deal with 3 player options added onto it. The Padres really need starting pitching, but the bullpen is never a bad thing to upgrade either. We got a bit of a bullpen run going on here. Ken Giles signed a minor league deal with the Braves, trying to resurrect himself. The Mets also signed a pair of relievers, with Shintaro Fujinami signing a 1-year, $3.5 million contract, and Jake Diekman today signing a 1-year deal with the Mets as well. The terms on that one are not known. And just when you thought it couldn't happen, the Oakland A's made another transaction. They traded for Ross Stripling from the San Francisco Giants for a guy named Jonah Cox. He's apparently an outfielder. I don't really know anything about him. What's interesting about this move is that I think, and this is my thinking cap going on here, I think that the Giants are shedding some salary so that they can go after Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell. The Giants, as we've talked about on the show before, are a team that has to desperately overpay to get a player, and I think that this is opening up some money and a rotation spot for them to be able to do so. The pitching guys in Boris's camp, Montgomery and Snell, haven't really received a whole lot in terms of actual offers. The Yankees offered Snell a 6-year, $150 deal, and Blake Snell's looking for a 9-year, $270 deal. And the Giants are probably one of the only teams that would be willing to come close to Snell on that. It's unclear what Montgomery is looking for, although it will be significantly less than what Snell's commanding based on the fact that Montgomery, while he's been a decent pitcher, he's not a guy who has 2 Cy Young awards on his resume, nor is the defending Cy Young winner. And that's all we got for today's episode. It was nice talking to you guys again. And I'm working on trying to get a little surprise for next week's show. So hopefully we can dot the I's and cross the T's and make that happen. Talk to you guys later. Ta-ta.